The wavy chicken wire is just such a wonderful thing. I'm always thinking of new uses for it. I wanted to mention one more thing about, well, I'll probably mention more in the future, but in Latin America, people don't like to even play with their compost, from the introduced composting toilets, which I never saw working. I saw hundreds abandoned and used for tool sheds up on where you climb up the stairs, and all that's being used to store tools because people don't want to mess with the compost once it fills up. But with the movable shallow pit latrine over a shallow pit, you can just pick up your privacy poles, the thatch roof, whatever, plastic, and move it over another empty hole once it fills up. And trees can be planted there and they'll grow real nicely. But some cultures are comfortable with applying it to their field, to their gardens. And so that's something that is perfectly fine, but there's something very important to stress. No se puede mezclar la orina con el feces, no? We can't mix urine in with the feces. The feces alone are relatively sterile, but relatively speaking. But when you add urine, then the pathogens just go crazy. And so we encourage placing a funnel right in here to capture the piss from a man and then take it and put it into some kind of a container, because this combined with water is an excellent fertilizer, fertilizante, no, mezclado con agua. I use a 1 orina to 4 de agua. Debo tal vez poner así, más o menos. Ok, no, ya sé, son 2 puntos así, el colon, ¿no? Entonces, I just think it's important with the female system for capturing urine. I think is excellent. I saw it developed by World Neighbors in Honduras, I believe it was, where the commode actually has an interior cup like this with the funnel coming out of the bottom and carrying water out of the latrine, urine, I should say, out of the latrine and into the same container that perhaps the men use. So I think you can kind of get an idea of how this captures the urine, and then the rest is all pretty similar. So this is something that we can do more research on, because it's pretty widely available now in Central America anyway. And I think it would be worth checking with World Neighbors, Peace Corps, etc. I know the Peace Corps has, in many cases, adopted the movable shallow pit latrine instead of building a deep pit latrine. So finally, we're beginning to deal with the number one cause of infant mortality worldwide. As long as I'm speaking about contaminated water. I want to take advantage of this time to explain the most elegant way of decontaminating, in other words, sanitizing, purifying water, recommended now by the United Nations, because only 2%, okay, 2% of the families that were taught to boil their water, only 2% do. Of all those taught. Because fuel is hard to find. In fact, it is the number one cause for reduction in beans being cooked around the world. The number one source, fuente, the number one fuente of protein in the diet is not being cooked anymore because it takes so long, to cook beans. It's just becoming so. What I am proposing in the Great Mandate, and you'll have to excuse me for pushing the only vehicle I know of to create a democracy in the United States. What I'm pushing for in the Great Mandate is that we use the sun, perhaps even in Africa, or in any country with lots of sunlight, to dehydrate, deshidratar, to dehydrate beans, and cook them. Cocinar primero, no? Cocinar and deshidratar. So, cooking and dehydrating beans for U.S. solidarity. No longer is it U.S. aid. I'm proposing in the Great Mandate, which you can read in its entirety at SOLUTIONS. Remember, there's a dash right there. No, solutions.info.